The US Senate has passed legislation to suspend the debt limit until January 2025. President Joe Biden will now sign it into law to avert a default crisis. Why has this issue generated so much concern?
That bill ideally affects how investor capital flows, not just in the US, but also across the globe. So, a failure of the US to revise that debt ceiling would mean a rise in interest rates in the US, and that would mean a reallocation of capital by investors.
First, a look at what the US debt ceiling is. Most countries depend on tax revenue and borrowing to make ends meet. The US is not any different. It borrows to fund infrastructure development, social programs, and even paying off old debt. However, early this year, the US hit its debt ceiling of $31.4 trillion, which is a limit by law of the total amount of money the government can borrow to pay its bills. It is not the first time the US is seeking to revise its debt limit. Congress has done so many times in the past, 78 times to be exact, since 1960.
The current crisis is due to sort of a strange feature of US law, is that the Congress passes laws telling the president that he must spend money on Medicare benefits, on defense, on education, etc. Then they also pass laws regarding taxes, and in particular in 2017, the Trump administration got through a substantial tax cut. Now, of course, that's going to result in more borrowing. It's a strange part of American law that in the past was never allowed to really cause panic. But the Republicans during the Obama administration and also now have been playing a game of chicken.
As of January 2023, nearly half of all US foreign debt came from 5 countries. They are Japan, China, the UK, Belgium, and Luxembourg.
The US debt, bonds, treasury bond, T-bills, etc., is a critical component of the world financial system. It is the safe asset that people use, countries use for their financial reserves, for example.
In addition to suspending the debt limit, the bill temporarily controls spending, cancels unspent COVID monies, increases job demands, and decreases internal revenue service funding. How then does this affect the rest of the world?
A debt default means that investors are skeptical about the US being able to repay its debt. So they would have generally reconsidered allocating the investment capital towards other countries. So we're looking at possibly China and Russia. And China and Russia would have taken that opportunity to be able to woo investors. So if a manufacturer was to, or a dealer was to deploy his goods to the US, they would rather channel those goods to a different location. So he would look at Europe and he would look at China. And that would mean that he would expect his payments to be made in Chinese or in the euros.
When the euro was created, I thought that perhaps that would develop into an alternative world currency. Now, that didn't happen. Even though the European economy is large and strong, that didn't happen. The United States has this very big competitive advantage of, first of all, being money-wise, the largest economy in the world in terms of financial markets and the ability to sort of support the financial system.
The last time the US came this close to exceeding its debt ceiling was in 2011. America credit rating agency Standard & Poor cut the country's rating, a decision that has yet to be reversed.